in child protective services, and they won't give them back to their loving families because they're making money.
This is a legal system that you're going into. And if you don't know the rules, you will be chewed up and spit out.
If I could say anything to a mother who just got their children detained, you're in a crisis. Yeah. Life feels like it's over. The most important thing is regaining custody of your children.
The child welfare system at its core is designed to protect children who need protection. Okay, and that's key, is who need protection.
So social workers, out of fear, will remove more children rather than only remove those children that truly need to be removed.
It's okay. It's okay.
This isn't someone stole your car. Someone broke into your house. This someone took your child, your flesh and blood.
It doesn't say on this order that it was not proven. It says untrue. True. I immediately knew that, okay, well, this ain't over.
Were there signs there? Were there no signs? Did I miss them? Did I catch them? At this point, I honestly don't know.
Families only get a finite amount of time to reunify.
I came into this field to help families, not destroy them.
The difference between the criminal system and the child welfare system is substantial. You have more rights as a criminal than you do as a parent.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CPS Newsroom. I am your host, Amanda Cisco. This show is airing today, but it will be Mondays at 1 p.m. Pacific time. That's 4 p.m. my time, Eastern time. Hope everyone is doing well today. So basically what this show is about is we will be keeping you updated in all things the world of CPS. So current events, new lawsuits, CPS cases gone wrong. We'll be sharing all of those stories here. So today we are going to start off with a story, how the so-called child welfare system hurts families. And I will be posting the link to the story. And it's a scenario that many parents across New York State, particularly in low-income areas, have come to fear. A knock on the door from a child protective services caseworker. And a visit by CPS is often promoted by a report made to the state, sometimes anonymously by a neighbor, teacher, former partner, or someone the family barely knows. In the large majority of cases, the report is not for alleged abuse, but some form of perceived child neglect, a messy home, a child playing outside by themselves, which in my opinion is, not a huge deal as long as you're close by, or some kind of alleged abuse, a messy home, a child playing outside by themselves, or even a missed remote learning appointment, which is ridiculous. I've heard a lot of cases these days where, the schools are sending caseworkers into the homes because their kid missed a day of remote learning. It's just insane. So once it receives a report, a local agency is required under the law to investigate, no matter how minor the allegations. So a parent who gets a visit from CPS usually won't be told anything about their rights. Instead, they will be told that they need to get the caseworker into their home, make their children available for questioning, and sometimes even body searches. Assign release for private medical and school information often accompanies these as well. And they'll be asked probing questions about their backgrounds and have every aspect of their lives put under a microscope. Everything a parent tells a caseworker can be used against them in court. Some parents might have their children removed before even seeing a courtroom, a lawyer, or learning their rights. If CPS thinks that a situation meets the legal definition of neglect, they will often file a petition in family court where they may ask for the children to be separated from their family. Nicole, please tell me more about your situation. And also, if you call the 888-888-6582 number, I might be able to get you on the show. So yes, if anybody would like to be on the show, please send me a message. Okay, so at this point, parents face a ridiculous court system that too often presumes the worst about them. Children who are removed can spend years, if not their entire childhoods, in foster care. Even if a family isn't separated, they will often spend months under the court-ordered supervision of CPS, while parents do their best to comply with the onerous requirements that are rarely tailored to their actual needs. These situations are all too common part of what is sometimes called the child welfare system, but is more accurately described as the family regulation system. The system consists of an assemblage of laws, policies, and government agencies that intervene in private family life with the ostensible aim of protecting the children. Historically, many policymakers have viewed these systems solely through the prism of child protection, but now, in response to years of dedicated organizing by affected parents, more policymakers are waking up to this disproportionate harms that the system imposes on poor families of color. They are finally seeing the family regulation system as an issue of racial and economic justice. At a hearing last week held by the New York State Assembly, parents and advocates from across New York State testified about their experiences with the family regulation system. Parent Desiree Wright testified that although she had just graduated from school in criminal justice, when ACS comes to her door, everything that I'm learning, everything that I'm retaining, everything that I know just goes right out the window. She spoke of PTSD, explaining, I can't sleep. I'm up. I'm hugging my child. I'm feeling like he's going to be removed from my home. And these are things that are all unhealthy for a mom. The parallels between family regulation and criminal legal systems are hard to ignore. Both systems overwhelmingly impact Black, Brown, and Indigenous people, but both effectively treat circumstances of poverty as offenses to be punished. Yet in critical ways, those subject to the family regulation system have even fewer protections than defendants in the criminal legal system. And this is a fact, guys. Fortunately, we have a chance to build a renewed awareness of the harms of the family regulation system by ushering real policy change in the state of New York. One bill in the state legislature would require CPS caseworkers to immediately inform the parents of the right to remain silent, speak to a lawyer, and not permit entry into their home. Similar to Miranda warnings given to people in criminal custody, this bill would allow parents to make informed, sound decisions at a particularly vulnerable moment in CPS investigations. Another bill would prohibit anonymous reports of child neglect to the state central registry by requiring callers to leave their names and contact information when making a report, while maintaining confidentiality. In many instances, false anonymous reports are used as a form of domestic harassment or to settle grievances. A third bill would require that pregnant or prenatal people give written informed consent before being subjected to medically unnecessary drug testing in New York hospitals. In this legislation, it would help curb the practice for discriminatory drug testing of patients that can lead to the patients being separated from their newborn children. The largely poor, disproportionate Black and Brown parents and children who experience the family regulation system have long misunderstood it as a form of policing and surveillance. Sorry, guys, I'm a slow reader. It is past time that all advocates for civil rights recognize this perspective and treat the family regulation system as a core of civil liberties concern. Over the past years, calls have grown louder for police department funding to be shifted to supportive social services. As states and cities look to do that, they must be mindful not to replicate the harms of policing in other areas. The family regulation system is an unfortunate reminder of what that can look like. Transforming the system is essential as we struggle for racial and economic justice. And that, guys, is the story. So I would like to hear from you guys. Leave some comments. I would like to have a couple of callers. So I'll give you guys a few minutes. Here. Hey Nicole, can you send me a private message over the page? Oh, see. Hey, Nicole, if you're listening, send me an email at amanda@vincentwdavis.com and let me know if you're interested in coming on to the show. And I'm so sorry this is happening. And anybody else watching who'd like to come onto the show, send us a message on the CPS Current Events Facebook page, and we will send you a link. All right, and I'll give you guys a couple more minutes to get those in. Okay, so this next story is from the state of West Virginia. So the director says Child Protective Services is at a breaking point. The Child Protective Services Division with the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources is facing multiple issues driven by the opioid crisis, including staff vaccines, an overflowing foster care system, drug-addicted infants, and a slow-to-respond child abuse hotline that contributed to the deaths of 5 children last year. We are already pretty much at a breaking point, and I don't know how much further that rubber band can stretch before it snaps, says Jeff Pax, commissioner of DAHR's Bureau for Social Services, to members of the West Virginia Legislators' Joint Committee on Children and Families on Tuesday afternoon during the last day December interim meetings. Pack, who joined DHHR in August and was previously a member of the House of Delegates and chairman of the House Health and Human Resources Committee, he never realized how bad things were until he became a commissioner. I didn't understand how difficult my job would be when I left the legislature and went to DHHR, Pack said. According to Pack's testimony, there are 400 Child Protective Services workers in the field, with 7 vacancies in Adult Protective Service and 15 vacancies in Social Services. Statewide CPS vacancy rates increased from 17% in January 2020 to 27% in October. That is as high as I can remember, Pack said. The numbers for November will be out on the 10th, and I expect they won't look significantly better than what they look right now. Pack said some of that is due to adding new positions, but more due to ongoing vacancies, driven in part by low pay, high caseloads, and overall burnout. Vacancies vary by judicial district, creating problem areas around the state. Candidly, that's untenable, Pack said. I don't know how we continue to operate at that particular rate. One of the issues in DHHR's Child Abuse and Neglect Hotline, the call center is located in Fairmont and refers child abuse cases to social workers and law enforcement. However, sometimes there's a delay between when the call comes in and when the information makes its way to the appropriate authorities. Rebecca Carson, director of DHHR's Central Intake Unit, said some of the changes made at the hotline, including more supervision, recorded phone lines, and direct lines of contact to the state police, should help prevent similar issues in the future. Sometimes cases are not referred at all by the hotline officials if they determine the referral doesn't rise to the level of child abuse. All right. And in a letter to Peters, DHHR said the complaint did not rise to the legal definition of child abuse. 4 months later, the child in question and 4 other siblings were murdered by their mother, who set the house on fire and shot herself, according to an investigation reported by West Virginia Metro News. All right. And that is it for this story, guys. And I've got my producer back in the back working hard. Hey, how are you? So my producer is back here dealing with everybody who is messaging to get a link to come onto the show. So just bear with us. You're doing amazing, Grace. Thank you. And it looks like we'll be having a guest coming on in just a moment, guys. Okay, guys. While we wait for that guest, let's go into another news story. So this is, let's see what state. Okay. And excuse my fur baby. Oh my gosh, Nicole, I'm so sorry. Okay, so this is in the state of Texas. So a local child protective services director rips his own department and state in a lengthy resignation letter. In San Antonio, the director of child protective services for the San Antonio area cited emotional and mental care agency exhaustion and was sharply critical of the state's foster care agency when stepping down from her position this summer. According to a copy of her resignation letter obtained by KSAT 12 defenders. Brenda Watkins, director of the Department of Family and Protective Services for Region 8, resigned in early June. DFPS officials attempted to block the release of her June 9 resignation letter in July, claiming in an appeal to the state attorney general's office that the letter included information that would constitute a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. Watkins claimed in her resignation letter to the Associate Commissioner of Child Protective Services that she could no longer remain in her role as Region 8 Director due to undue stress, emotional and mental exhaustion, unreasonable demands and expectations, and workload and burden. Watkins also revealed that she was subject of an anonymous complaint that led to a management review of her conduct at work. I felt targeted to be the subject of such a formal process within my first 10 months of tenure based on my current stress level and one anonymous complaint, wrote Watkins, who denied that she had demonstrated any unethical or less than prudent professional conduct. Watkins also included 29 concerns she had with how the agency was operating. And I'll actually read the resignation letter, guys. Okay. Dear Deneen, please accept this letter of resignation effective June 10, 2021. As indicated to Jim Yoakum and Katie Whiting after the management review that was conducted about me on June 7, I was no longer able to remain in my role as regional director for Region 8 due to undue stress, emotional and mental exhaustion, unreasonable demands and expectations, and workload and burden. I indicated that I was taking 2 days leave to process the allegations from an informal anonymous complaint. I was asked to not work out a period of notice, presumably due to the nature of my role. I was advised that I could plan and pick up my belongings, which is requested. Deneen reviewed. Oh, wow. So she went to. Oh, no. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so she goes to send in her resignation letter, and they said, due to the nature of your work, you can just pack up your stuff and go. Oh, my goodness. And hold on, we're going to be bringing someone on, guys. So just give me a second. Okay. So Deneen reviewed the allegations with me on May 30, and I immediately and adamantly denied nearly all the allegations. I was told she would staff with HR on June 1st, and I would be advised the next steps, which resulted in a full management review. When I spoke with Mr. Yoakum on June 1 about the process, I discussed concerns about timing due to state crisis in the region, and the state expressed worries that this would not be a fair process as a result. And I also stated it would continue to divide a region in crisis and put doubt in its staff's minds about their new leader. I felt targeted to be subject to such a formal process within my first 10 months of tenure based on my current stress level and one anonymous complaint. I expressed the same concerns to Mrs. Dryden and Miss Benuelos, who advised me there was nothing they could do but acknowledge it would be hard. The preliminary results were shared with me for inclusion of the report to the commissioner. I asked for specificity and examples and was provided with very little concrete, tangible evidence. Again, I denied nearly all the allegations and was asked what I wanted to include in the report. Oh, wow. So she just kind of, okay, so this is actually kind of a long resignation letter. I was advised as this was not meant to be a punitive process, but rather to identify areas of concern to work on my leadership team with. I respectfully disagreed and indicated I felt targeted and it was very punitive with no sensitivity to my ongoing stress level due to the local crisis. I believe the questions were both leading and misleading, as well as confusing per some staff feedback. Some of them addressed a high level of specificity that not only one person could have known unless they shared it with another person and should not have been asked of 20 people. The questions were character damaging and defamation of my reputation and character. None of the questions were my strengths based on what I focused on or what I did well as a leader. Below is a summary of some of my concerns, which I request to be included with my response to the management review. Oh, wow. Okay. So it looks like they have a lot of issues internally in their organization as well. And she just kind of ends by saying, thank you so much for the opportunity to serve as the RD in Region 8 for the last 10 months. It's helped me to learn the Texas child welfare system and to grow as a leader. I remain committed to supporting moving CBC and child welfare practice forward in a non-conflicted role. And then she just kind of left it at that. Okay. And then for our last 30 minutes, we will be having Georgette from the show Fight Relatives with CPS. She'll be coming on in a few minutes. Tiffany, I'm really sorry to hear that you're going through that. If you can message the CPS Current Events page, my producer will get you on the show and we can talk about it. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to put one in the comments and we'll all be able to see it on the screen. Okay, so Tiffany wants to know, how do I fight with a CPS worker who does vindictive things like threaten us or orders police harassment? Well, Tiffany, first, I would definitely recommend consulting an attorney. That is very important. There are different laws in every state when it comes to recording things. But that's another way. Just make sure that you're legally allowed to record without their knowledge or permission. Otherwise, it's not admissible in court. But recording every conversation is another good way to protect yourself. And just having as much proof as necessary. But, you know, most importantly, having a good lawyer to fight for you and represent you in court will be very helpful in, you know, poking holes in their character and in their credibility as the case continues. Right now, we are still waiting on Georgette, guys. Any other questions? Feel free to post it, and I will do my best to get the answer. Okay, so Nicole says, I relapsed mainly because I was not getting the recognition that I deserved, such as weekends or unsupervised visits. Nicole, I can definitely understand your pain on that. I'm really sorry to hear that you relapsed. I hope that you're doing better. I can also kind of relate. I had an experience myself when I was younger. Georgette, hey everybody, Georgette is in the house.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, so let's talk CPS Current Events. We covered a couple of stories. Next week, guys, bear with me today. This is our first, this is my first time doing a newsroom. So next week, when we have the show Monday afternoon, we will have some trailers for you to watch. We'll have some clips for you to look at. It'll be more like watching a news channel, hopefully. So
you're gonna, there's a couple of stories that I want to share with you, Amanda. For example, today I found out from one of our callers that, first of all, she's a grandmother, right? There's no records against her, meaning she has no priors whatsoever. Her daughter has no priors whatsoever. They took the child, the baby, from the mother, and her husband refused to place the child with the grandmother. None of them have priors, no drug. The baby was not born with drugs in the system. The parents did not have a hearing in court, and they removed the baby 18 months ago. No hearing, no detention hearing, nothing. No court-appointed attorney was provided. There's absolutely nothing at all that would show that the baby is in danger. That's their first child. They've been married for 2 years. The father is an electrician. He works as an electrician, and the mother is a registered nurse. So,
did they say why they took the baby then?
There is no reason given as to why they took the baby. That's in Florida.
They didn't even give a reason.
Mm-mm.
And people are just doing this now.
Yeah. So she was very confused, the grandmother, when she was talking to me. And she was, of course, normal behavior is to cry, right? She said when her daughter was crying and pleading for the worker not to steal her baby, the worker laughed at her and did not show any type of remorse whatsoever.
That's disgusting.
And that's, of course, that's their behavior. That's what they show people, that they don't care. Obviously, they don't care. They don't give a damn what goes on. All they care about is just removing the child. And that nurse, the mother, she's actually a nurse in that hospital. And she's on maternity leave.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wait.
She's on maternity leave.
But they've had her child for 18 months?
Yes.
18
months ago.
And she still hasn't gotten the child back?
Nope. Nope. And the thing of, and I'm like, right here, she contacted me just now again, and she they told her that the grandmother has no rights and that the mother has no rights to the child anymore because now it's in the jurisdiction of the state. Yeah.
Wait,
I'm trying to grab this together. That's why I came on your show right now to share this with people, honestly, and to let people know more about what they do, because this is, to me, this is really deep. Usually when they steal children, they have a fabricated information as to why, or a fake reason as to why they're stealing children from their parents. But this time they actually have no reason. Like, how can I say it?
that's really scary.
Mm, they just stole the baby. No court order, nothing given, no paperwork, no court hearing. That's a long time. That's a very long
And think
time.
about all that special, like that crucial time where a baby is supposed to bond with its parents.
Mhm.
That got ripped away. And like think about what that's going to do to the child too as it gets older.
The baby doesn't know their parents yet. However, the trauma that the parents are dealing with, especially the grandmother, that's her first grandbaby.
Mm-hmm.
That's their first child. That they got married and their hope was to have a family. Now the nurse doesn't understand what's going on. However, the grandmother thinks it's the setup. It was like somebody was waiting for her to have that baby to steal that baby.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the grandmother believes happened. Because there's absolutely nothing going on with them to force the social worker to steal their baby without a hearing. You know, they're supposed to have a hearing within 72 hours, I think,
Yeah.
of the hearing of the removal hearing. And I actually texted Mr. Davis about that, but it makes absolutely no sense.
And I want to hear from the judge who signed off on this order.
There is no judge. There is no judge that signed off. There is no hearing.
See, in my jurisdiction, you have to have, like, they have to submit paperwork to the court and a judge has to sign off on something before they can remove a child. Are you saying that's not the case here?
Mm-mm.
They just decided to go take the child, and they did.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Didn't have to answer to anyone.
And they put the baby in a foster home, an adoptive foster home. So my thing is this: I believe, I'm not sure yet because there's so much questions I'm going to ask the parents later, but I believe that the social worker knew somebody in the hospital and then that person knows the foster parents that want to adopt. So most likely they said, I want to adopt a baby with blonde hair, for example, or a newborn baby with blonde hair. I'm assuming.
Right.
Because the baby is blonde and the grandmother said that it's an amazing, beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous baby. Well, all babies are beautiful. But she said, that's my first grandbaby. And the adoptive family they put the baby with is they're requesting to adopt the baby already. Kind of weird. I'm listening to her and I'm in disbelief because and when I noticed your show is on, I said I need to get on your show and share this with the public. I really did.
Thank you, Georgette.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Just imagine what the mom is going through right now.
Yeah, this is a lawsuit, man. This is a big, huge lawsuit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because 18 months. That's the whole. That's 18 months.
And she's still fighting.
Right, and the thing is, she doesn't.
And I'm
know
guessing she didn't get to visit the baby during this time.
Wait, no visits. That's what you don't understand. I know it's hard for you to understand this. Don't believe it. They stole the baby without a court order. No court hearings. I'm like I said, I'm trying to, like, literally, honestly, Amanda, I said I'm going to go on the show and talk to people about this. It makes absolutely no sense. I told the grandmother, I said, I told her to calm down. It's hard for her to calm down. Tears, crying. She doesn't know what's going on. They called the social worker, no return calls. Social worker keeps telling her that she asked the social worker, actually, about a detention hearing. They didn't even have a detention hearing because she heard on Mr. Davis' show that detention hearing, and she said, do we have a detention hearing? No.
So, Georgette, we actually have a third person, Nicole. Do you want to bring her on? Yeah. Hi, Nicole.
Hi,
how are you?
Hello, how are you guys?
Hi, sweetheart.
So it sounds like you kind of have a similar experience that you'd like to share.
Yeah, but I mean, with mine, I guess they had more of a reason. You know, I was in addiction. I never lost my kids. I went and done a 90-day CRV, and when I did, they put my kids in kinship. Well, my youngest daughter went to a home of people who used. So when I got out of my 90-day CRV, they already knew that this woman used. They placed her there after this woman had lost one of her children. I mean, like it was no secret. And I was like, why are you guys putting my child in this home? Like this woman she's not safe there. So they go and they try to drug screen my youngest daughter, and the woman refused to allow them to drug screen her. So they immediately took her and placed her in foster care. And that's when they took my kids. That's when they filed their petition. And so I immediately went to rehab. I have worked my entire case plan, and my caseworker is just so cruel. She's such a liar. She tells me all the time, your kids don't love you. You know, their doctor diagnosed me with borderline personality disorder, and she says that means that, you know, I can't take care of my kids. The judge has not changed my plan from reunification, and I'm just glad that he sees things for what they are. But he has also heard, I played a recording of my daughter telling that this man has put hands on her and hurt her, and that they won't let her like play with any of my toys that I get her. Like they've completely eliminated me and her brothers and sisters out of her life. And my daughter's only 6 years old. She's like going through so, and they will not move her. And my sister is a school teacher who doesn't live far away from me. She has been willing to take her, and she comes to my court every single court date with me, and she is asking for them to place her there, and they will not move her out of this home. After their guardian ad litem had sent an email out, there's 24 reasons of why my daughter should not be placed in this home, and I have this email. My attorney gave it to me, and now it's like that email is non-existent. It's like she retracts everything she said, but you can't retract. You can retract opinions, but not facts. These are facts that was proven about this family, and now it's like everybody's just cheerleading for this foster family. That it's a private agency, and they're based off of mental health. They're trying to say my daughter has autism, or not autism. That she's on the spectrum for something. They pulled her out of kindergarten. They had her in pull-ups at 6 years old, and my baby was potty trained at 3 years old. Like it is just
this is horrendous.
Yes, it's terrible. And I've heard you guys talk about filing a 388 petition, or I've been watching a lot of his YouTube shows, and I just don't know exactly. I've tried to pull the form up for my sister to file that, and I mean, like, I have so many recordings and so much proof of just complete lies. She just straight up lies on me, and nobody does anything about it. Like she gets away with it. And now, to be honest, I relapsed, and so I failed a drug screen, like a mouth test, and the judge was like, I want 2 clean drug screens and you can have your visits back. He didn't change my plan, and she will not give me these drug screens. It has been a month, and this woman will not drug test me to give me my visits back.
I'm so sorry, Nicole, that you're going through this.
It's just so hard. I don't have the money to
Nicole, what
afford.
state is your case in?
Excuse me?
What state is your case in?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. There is how far are you in your case?
What do you mean? Like it's been 15 months?
15 months? Okay. Is there any way you can call after the show ends? You can call Amanda. I'm going to give her a name of an attorney in North Carolina.
Okay.
Which is a juvenile dependency attorney. And I would like you to speak with this attorney and explain the case to him, and also let them know that if they can work something out with you pertaining to retainer. Okay.
Okay.
You have Amanda's number, correct?
I messaged her on Facebook, but I'm sure that I can get it from that page.
Yeah. And you know, that's another thing too that I would like to bring it to attention of the viewers or the followers of Amanda shows and our shows period, is that when you're in the beginning of an investigation phase of CPS, I don't care if you it doesn't matter if you knew you've done drugs before or whatever. We all make mistakes, and I understand that. However, they put you in a position where some women relapse, some men relapse, what have you. And I want you guys to understand it's very important in the beginning phases of the case to hire a juvenile dependency attorney, not to depend on the court appointed attorney, because he or she will not help you. They're not going to help you, period. And that's the God honest truth. They're not going to help you. So with that being said, it's very important for you guys to understand that that's the crucial beginning phase of CPS, is to hire an attorney so they can stop the move from happening, meaning to stop them from stealing your children. That's very important. Okay. Another thing, they put parents in a position where they actually depend on like numbing the pain, right? You want to numb the pain. You're trying to cope without your children and all that. They put you in a position where you're trying really hard, right? Then you relapse. I want you guys to understand this. Your children need you. Your children need you. They need you. So you need to fight for them. When you numb the pain, you're just numbing it temporarily. You're not numbing it permanently. And when you wake up from that numbness, you're going to face reality again. So the situation is not going to change. It's just going to get worse. I want you guys to understand to work on yourselves as well. That's very important, because at the end of the day, you're doing this for yourself and your children. And I need you guys to understand that.
And if I can give any words of advice from my own experience, is that you have to replace a bad habit with a healthy one. You don't just stop a habit, you have to replace it with something. And what I found to be very helpful was exercise. I run every morning at 5 a.m.
And what I find it helpful too, and this works really well. When I tell my on my shows this, when I was 14, I'm in my 50s now, but when I was 14, my parents taught me to meditate. Meditate meaning I love the ocean. I love water. You know, I love the ocean. And I literally have ocean sound in the background, and I just start focusing and just clearing out all the clutter from my head, whether it's before a test or an exam I had to do or a job interview, whatever it is to clear my mind. And that really works for me. I don't know if it works for other people, but choose whatever that helps you cope with stress better, your favorite happy place, and make it work for you. Because seriously, guys, at the end of the day, you're doing this for yourself and you're doing this for your children. And don't give them ammunition to hold against you. The more ammunition you give social workers, they will hold it against you. They will.
Yeah, I just want to say that 15 months went by and I literally went to rehab, got a place to live, a job, a vehicle, my driver's license, no failed drug screens, like everything was perfect. And then all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, it's been too much time. We're trying to switch the plan to adoption." She literally goes to court without any bad thing on me whatsoever and tries to change my plan to adoption, and the judge denies it. And then the second time we go back to court for we only go to court every 90 days for the review. She tried to change it again. And the third time that I did have a failed drug screen, the judge still said I'm not switching the plan from reunification. I'm leaving it what it is. I just want her to pass 2 drug screens, and she will not. She just refuses to give them to me, and I don't know how to go about getting the drug screens, because I mean I can pay for them myself, but I don't know how. I don't know if the judge would accept them. I mean, I don't know. I go to my doctor because I'm doing med management, and he has 4 clean drug screens on me since then. And but my caseworker is just like, I'll give you one unexpectedly. She literally was drug screening me every single week up until he asked for 2 clean ones.
Did you ever, I wasn't here at the beginning of Amanda's show, but did you ever ask them, did you ever provide them with at least 25 members of families' names and addresses and phone numbers or more? Like, did you ever provide that to them in writing and request that the child be placed with family members or friends and family?
I did that at the beginning of my case, and they act like it was never sent. They never even acknowledged it.
Yeah, well, she just completely disregards everything that I say.
It's something that you can use later. It's something like it's a good strategy that you can bring up later if you end up in a civil rights lawsuit with them.
Yeah, and also, honestly, like Mr. Davis always says, do everything in writing. A lot of people call. They call their social workers and say, "Oh, I'm requesting this and this and that," but they can easily say you never called them.
I record everything, and if I call, I record, and
right.
Everything else is through email, and she is still just she's just so heartless. I mean, and cruel, even in her emails. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
I'm really sorry.
Not good. I am so sorry, babe. But again, but did you text her though? Do you have the ability to text her?
Yeah.
And you requested that in writing, that the child be placed with family members?
Oh yes, several times. This has been going on. I mean, the guardian ad litem brought to the court's attention that this placement that she was in was not a good place, so they moved the court date up like a couple months, like they wanted to address it immediately. And then when we go to that court date, it's completely acted as if that was never ever even brought up. Like they completely act like they never had any concerns at all for where my daughter is placed. So I mean, what it is this agency. It's like a privately owned. They're offering money to be able. I mean, there's got to be money on the table. I mean, it has to be something for them to completely act as if they never were concerned at all about the placement of my child, or that my daughter didn't tell the guardian ad litem out of her own mouth that this man put hands on her and hurt her. I mean, they are just completely disregarding every single thing that they know about this family.
Georgette, what do you think?
I really believe, like I said, I don't know the whole story from her because I came to the show late to share a message with you, Amanda, and the people watching your show right now. Again, I would need to know more about her story from beginning to end. If it's okay with you, my phone number is right on the screen here. And if you can just write that number down, please, and text me your full name. And let me just remind me that you were on Amanda's show, so that way I know who you are. And I'll be happy to call you and get a little bit more information from you, if it's okay with you. And then we'll go from there. Because honestly, like the lady I mentioned today, the grandparents and her daughter and her son-in-law, they have an amazing lawsuit. People think they can sue the social workers. A lot of people think they can sue, but you have to have probable cause, like facts, witnesses.
Yeah.
The facts is writing, the case, the review your case, review what the social workers wrote, which I call it the lies, and then the facts and the truth and the evidence, right? So, and you compare them together, and then the attorney's job, like Mr. Davis is very big on strategy. The attorney's job is to turn it into a strategy that fits, right, to win that case. Because not everybody can just win a lawsuit. It's very important to have facts and you compare it to the lies. You kind of put them together, right? And then you kind of, the strategy is going to pick what is written and what the truth is, right? And turn it into a strategy to win your case. So that's very important for people to understand. If the attorney does not have a strategy to win your case, he or she is not going to succeed. The thing is, people think that the attorney can go to the courtroom and say, my client is innocent, give her the kids, we're suing you for $3-4 million, example, right? It doesn't work out that way. I wish it did. It doesn't. That takes case reviews. It takes extensive case review, by the way, because they complicate your case so badly.
They do.
So badly that it makes you look like you're a monster. You're a monster. That's how they make you look.
And that's how I look. I look like that on paper.
Yeah.
So, well, they accused me. I brought my daughter to the hospital after a visit with her dad had gone really bad. And she came home with injuries that could not be explained in her, feminine area. And fast forward like a year later, I'm now being accused of being the one who hurt my daughter. And we never even made it home from that visit exchange. We went straight to the hospital.
And for the people that
with him.
And the thing about it is, like, I got to know Amanda for a while, and what's written from the social workers is completely contradicts the person that she is. I mean, they made her look like a monster. She's not a monster. And that's what they do with a lot of mothers. They make them look like monsters, just like this woman I was just talking about.
But once in a while, you come across one of these moms who actually is what a lot of us are being accused of being, and it just kind of
DSS is not involved.
Yeah,
and they're not involved. Exactly, they're not.
They don't take kids from abusive homes. They take kids from good homes.
Yeah,
they do. They do, and the kids are abused. They're kicked. They're burned, and they still keep the children there. Believe it or not, it is factual information that I'm giving you guys. And then if the children are being abused in the foster home and the mother is reporting it to the social piece of shit worker, then they tell the mother that if you make another report, you're gonna lose your visits.
Yep. That's exactly what she did. They
like, what
use
the
it against
heck?
me.
Yeah. See? That's crazy. That is nuts. So what they show the foster parents is the false information that they write against the parents. This is false information. So the foster parents, as stupid as they are, they're like, oh, the mother is this, the mother is this, the father is this, the father is this, the grandmother is this, the aunt is this. They're so dumb because what they're reading the lies that the social worker put in place to begin with. And the judges are stupid. Why? Because they believe the freaking lies that's on paper. So to me, the judge is supposed to be, it's like, there's no checks and balance. None.
Check, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything.
So come on, hello. Okay, where is the detective that supposedly wrote this? Why is he on the stand, right? Testifying that the piece of shit worker actually wrote that in the report.
And in most court cases, that would actually be necessary to make that piece admissible by authenticating it. You can't just throw out some hearsay or write something on paper or just bring a random piece of evidence in and say, oh, hey, this is this. You have to authenticate it. You have to put somebody on the stand and say, oh, sir, is this your paper? Did you write this? Are you familiar with this?
No, but that's where the strategy
follow the rules of the court. They're not even following the rules of the court.
No, but wait.
Walk in these rooms with no training,
Right. But that's where the strategy come in when you cross, do the cross-examination, right? So the thing about it is they can easily say Detective Joe Smith said the mother was intoxicated in her car, right? But then when you go talk to Detective Joe Smith, he says, I've never said that. So why isn't he on the stand testifying to that? Another one, the teacher she said the teacher said, why isn't the teacher in the courtroom testifying to that?
Exactly.
Because when you go to the teacher, right, and they say, no, I didn't even talk to her. I didn't even speak to the social worker. So how did the social worker say that the teacher said when the teacher didn't say? And the teacher actually wrote a letter to the court in one of our clients' cases and said, I never said that. I never even spoken to the social worker.
Same. There's been a situation.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is they lie. They lie. They know they're lying. However, you need knowledge to understand so the case can be won. Get it? It's all about the experience and the strategy used to actually implement it in this demonic system. Okay? So I believe the show's coming or it's coming to an end soon.
Yes.
Amanda, take over, honey.
Amanda.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak about it. And
Georgette, thank you so much for coming on. And thank you, Nicole.
Georgette, I'm going to contact you. I will text you. Thanks, Amanda, for bringing me on your show.
Of course, of course.
And God bless you guys. And please don't give up. I'm going to leave now.
Absolutely not.
All right. Thanks. Bye, Georgette. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in to CPS Current Events. I will be live every Monday at 1 o'clock Pacific time. That's 4 p.m. Eastern time. And every Thursday, I will be on Fight CPS, the Civil Rights Struggle at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So you guys take care, and I will see you next Monday at 1.